I keep on hearing about the death of the ego, getting rid of the ego, and things in the same vein. And I'm wondering, if the ego is part of us, are we really supposed to separate ourselves from it? Aren't we supposed to keep it and befriend it, maybe? So it's not as damaging as we portray it to be. Welcome to Conscious Matters. I'm Melissa, and on this channel, I talk about conscious living through empowerment and holistic wellness, especially mental health. Today, it's a reflection video, me thinking and trying to figure out what that ego thing is about. What can we do about the ego if it's so heavy to bear? Everybody talking about killing the ego, ego death, and getting rid of the ego. But I'm wondering, if it's part of us, aren't we supposed to live with it or befriend it or trying to find a way to co-live with the ego? What are we supposed to do with the ego? What are we supposed to do? I have my own knowledge. I come across different things on social media, and I'm pretty sure you have your own information about the ego. So let's try to break it down a little bit. From my understanding, the ego is stuck in the unconscious mind, or even I would say the subconscious mind. It's about me plus me plus me equals me. So pretty much our personality, I am, our likes and dislike, which is pretty much I want this or I don't want this, the control and blame game, taking what other people do or say personally, all of that builds the ego, and that ego keeps us linked, or I'd rather say stuck in one version, one perception of reality. Knowing that I included personality in the ego component, and knowing that the personality most of the time is built over time with not only who we are at the core, but also all of our different experiences, past experiences, may they be positive or negative, knowing that we don't have all of the same experiences, we're not all the same at the core. Building our ego like that, it ends up making all of us having different realities, but yet thinking that there is only one reality that is ours. Like our perception is the main perception of the world. You're wrong, I am right. This is like that. Really like us versus them, or me versus you. This kind of idea of separation. Every time we have separation, the ego is at play. So even the dichotomy between the good guy and the bad guy, the good guy is egoistical too, because if we talk about the good guy who thinks of himself as the Samaritan, the one who already understood everything, and people are not awake, and my way is the highway, pretty much, like kind of they didn't understand and I do understand. And that is very potent in the spiritual community too, not accepting where everybody is at in their own journeys. Like we are all at different levels. I don't think the level is like that, like you're at the bottom and then you go up. I think it's more of a linear spectrum where you just have to go through different obstacles, and it's just like a pathway pretty much. So it's not because someone is at the beginning of the pathway or a different part of the pathway and that you're a little bit further along that it means that you're better than them. You know what I mean? So the ego is in everything, even what we think is good. Yeah, I mean, I guess once again, it depends on like your intention behind it, because a good guy can just be a good guy, not expecting anything, not trying to fulfill some sort of persona that he portrays or anything, and just like be good for the sake of being good. But the ego is a very interesting construct because it has negative aspects that we most of the time focus on when we talk about the ego, but it also has positive aspects. And these positive aspects are only attainable when we do the inner work. Otherwise, the ego keeps on like inflating itself with negative traits, or I won't even say negative, but like more separation, more and more division, and really being a separatist when at the end of the day, this is not what the world and humanity is about. But we'll get to that a little bit later on. We cannot talk about the ego without talking about manifestation, because most of the things that we manifest into our lives are manifested consciously, unconsciously, and also subconsciously. And if you remember, I said at the beginning that the ego is stuck in the subconscious mind. And we don't really want to manifest subconsciously or unconsciously because, and as a reminder, the subconscious mind controls 95% of our life and it never sleeps. So everything we hear, we feel, we experience in this world gets stuck in our subconscious. So in order to kind of manifest more what we want and not necessarily what is stuck in our computer, but is not actually what we want. And that's when the inner work comes in to get rid of old paradigms that block our manifestation, our healing of the ones that we are aware of or not even aware of, that are actually unconscious or stuck in the subconscious. And that inner work gives room for all of that heavy stuff to arise from the subconscious to get into the conscious mind, which we now will allow us to transmute it. So we're not stuck with the fear that we were feeling before, the negative statements, the self-doubt, the anxiety, everything that is the root cause of our anxiety, our depression, all of our mental or emotional ailments. And that pretty much means that it's decluttering work that we need to do to see clearly and embark into this new path or on our path with more ease, and to take our courage and be brave people to face everything that we don't want to face, everything that we've been sweeping under the rug, everything that we're not even aware of, but is actually playing actively in our mind and gives us results that we don't want to have in our physical life, pretty much battling our ego. So just to recap, before the inner work, the ego is seen as this negative thing, or at least this thing that doesn't serve our highest good. It's the thing that creates all of the veils and distortions in our lives. And when we let it unconsciously take over our lives, it's what makes us buy into certain illusions that ends up being our GPS in a way to maneuver through this physical reality. We're going in a way that the ego wants, but not necessarily in a way that will fulfill our soul, that is aligned with our heart, that is for our highest good. So when we realize that, we do want to get onto the other side in a way, the other side with big air quotes, and be able to attain and to reach all of the positive aspects that the ego can also bring. Because in many cases, this ego can actually protect us, first of all, and activate this fight or flight mode when we're in danger, but it can also boost ourselves up. And what do I mean by that? Is when we do our inner work, the illusion goes away. The perception, the one unique perception, like you have to see things my way, etc., is gone. But the ego stays. The ego always stays. It's just that it kind of morphed into another role into our life. It has another purpose now. It doesn't control us now. It ends up working as the thing that pushes us to really, really surpass ourselves, our own limitation, and really trying to actually go over our fears. And then at the end feel like, oh, I didn't think that I was capable of doing that. And that's a good feeling to have to constantly and continually surpass ourselves and get out of our comfort zone too. Because the ego is like, you're capable. I see that, and I see people doing that, and I'm interested in that, so why not? Like, let's try, let's jump, let's do it. So that's like the positive side of the ego once we finally took the veil out of our sight, and that we're done with the one unique perception, that we realize that everybody has their own unique journey, unique experiences, which eventually equals to unique perception of life. And when we finally get to that place of not being so self-centered, first of all, and realizing that we are part of a collective, it's not just me plus me plus me like before, but is me plus 7.5 or even now over 7.5 billion people. And we all have a role to play. So from that realization, from that new perspective of life, it's easier to focus on our role, still an individual role, of course, because we're just one person, but feeling that our role in life is to contribute to the collective, and that it's like a puzzle, pretty much. Like everybody's a different piece, but we need all of the pieces in order to make the puzzle. So you can be all that about your piece, but without the others, your piece is just a beautiful little one, but it won't be the whole puzzle. Oh, actually, that's how I view it. I'll be glad to have other perspectives, other perceptions of how you view the ego before and also after doing the inner work. And maybe I should clarify what is the inner work, what I'm referring to. To me, the inner work is about releasing, is about cleansing, accepting, forgiving, grieving even. Everything that we thought was our reality, maybe emotions, experiences, what were said about ourselves, and that we took everything so personally and let other external things and external people define us, and really like getting rid of all of that by diving deep into ourselves and also accepting what it was, and accepting also a new reality that you're building for yourself. And of course, I would say that is quite evident at the end is also like a grieving process of really being like, okay, I'm done with all of that, and really shifting our mindset or your mindset to a new reality, a new perception of life that will be free from all of the veils and illusions and see things as they are, not necessarily focusing on just the positive aspects or just the negative aspects, but accepting the whole, accepting the good and the fantastic, but also the bad and the ugly. And talking about it like that, I make it sound super easy, super like, it's cool, let's just get rid of this and that. But in reality, to do the inner work to dissolve the negative version of the ego is hard. It's so hard. Trust me, it's really hard, and it's scary and draining at times. It's literally being faced with everything you don't want to see, everything you don't want to hear, even everything that you don't want to face, and going so deep within the multiple layers of your person, like of who you are. Being completely honest with yourself, having nowhere to hide. You cannot point fingers anymore. You have to be true to you. Be true to you, be honest, accept, and check yourself too. Realize that you're not Miss Perfect or Mr. Perfect. You made mistakes, and now it's about, okay, how do I learn from that? How can I make my peace from them? And how can I grow from them? What can I learn from them? And how can I apply and integrate every single thing that I thought as negative in the past, but now with that work, with that honesty, with that acknowledgement, how can I rise from that, from these experiences? And now you realize like how much responsibility you have for yourself, you have for the life that you want to live, how you choose to answer and behave after certain experiences you had to go through. Not letting them define you, not letting them control you anymore, and really be the boss of yourself, your own boss, and make them work for you. Instead of them being detrimental to your growth, to who you want to become, like make them a part of your story, make them a part of your resiliency, making them not make your heart grow colder and harder, but actually feel like, okay, I'm actually grateful. Even though it was the most terrible experiences ever, I'm grateful for them because they helped me rise gracefully in my true path. They helped me recenter myself and recalibrate where I'm going in life. And not listening to the ego, which in the past would have the inner work be like, no, I want revenge. How can they do that to me? Do you see who I am? And feeling like they're wrong, they should be punished, etc., etc. No, we're not about that life anymore. We did the work. We went deep within us. We went through the releasing, the cleansing, the acceptance, the grief, and all of the other actions and feelings on the spectrum that are triggered by the inner work. We've been through all of that. So now it's about shifting our perspective and our reality, our vision, our lens that we use to see reality now. So the inner work is pretty much going through the most murky waters ever and ending up swimming gracefully in clean, clear waters. And that process is definitely humbling. A chance to not only see reality differently, but ourselves differently too. But that will be a whole other conversation because I feel like I'm going on a tangent and this is not what we were supposed to talk about. But we will eventually. I'll do another video about that, about the inner work and everything that it encompasses. If you're interested about that, leave a comment in the comment section. I'll be so glad to do that. So once we're on the other side and the positive aspects of the ego are not only attainable, but they're working in our favor, we end up embracing what was and what is now as a whole, instead of this full sense of reality we were subscribing to, accepting that there is no separation. There might be differences, but there is no separation. Everything is connected, and we're all a reflection to one another to some extent. Actually, I had the hardest time understanding the expression mirroring each other. I mean, as not necessarily the expression mirroring each other, but that everybody in our life is supposed to be a mirror of us, of who we are. And for the longest time, for me, was not a concept that I was agreeing to, because I was often using the example between a narcissist and an empath. It was hard for me to see how an empath can be a reflection of a narcissist and vice versa. How can a narcissist can be like the true definition of a narcissist, not just someone who likes themselves, like taking pictures, etc. Like the true definition of narcissist as being a mental disorder. So how can a narcissist be a reflection of an empath? And to me, that was like, I don't understand why people are saying that. This is not, I couldn't see how that was making sense. So I guess being an overthinker kind of have its perks, because I ended up like really thinking about that, and I came to the conclusion that yes, indeed, there is some truth into that, because there will be a difference, because a narcissist and an empath are, I mean, you know, the way they approach things are completely different, but they both linked with that fear of abandonment. An empath most of the time has a fear of abandonment, among other fears, okay? But like, let's focus on that. The way they express their fear is through people pleasing, putting their needs last, being overly present for someone who needs them, being overly generous, and so many other things. But when we think about a narcissist, most of the time, once again, among many of other fears, there is this fear of abandonment. And the way that they express that fear is through control of other people, manipulating people so they don't feel alone. They manipulate people for them to buy into their own perception of reality, so they can feel like they have this sense of importance too. And if they're important, they won't be abandoned. So when I thought like that, I was like, both of them have the same fear, but the way they express it is completely different. It's like the same spectrum, but literally the two ends of the spectrum. You cannot go further away. And that's how they connect with each other, because they mirror each other, because the empath can see the fear of abandonment in the narcissist, and the narcissist can see that the empath is afraid of being abandoned. So it will be easy to manipulate this person and use them, because not only the empath will feel like they have company and they're not alone, but at the same time, the narcissist will have all of their needs fulfilled too, and they also won't feel all alone. And that reflection made me really believe in the fact that we all connected, but we just express or reflect to the world things differently. So letting go of the negative version of the ego through inner work truly brings a sense of acceptance of the whole, not only seeing one side or the other side, but feeling at peace with understanding that it's just one side of a coin, but we want the whole coin. So if you want the whole coin, you have to accept one side and the other side as well. It's light and dark, good and bad, the sun, the moon. The whole world is about this duality, but this duality is a part of something that is whole, that is one, that is unite, and we're part of that. I mean, to my eyes, there is no need to lean onto one side or the other side. It's more about accepting that we are all one. And this ego, who's tried for so many years, decades even, tried to tell us the contrary, it's not. It's just because we didn't do the work before. And even when we're doing the work is like continuous. It's removing the biggest blocks, but then throughout all of the different life experiences that we keep on experiencing and that we will experience in the world, we still need to do that work. So our default thinking of being a spiritist, of thinking of us as just one, like one individual, and not part of a collective, cannot take over once again. And what's amazing, once you have like this ego working for yourself, I'm not going to say your ego becomes your best friend, because let's be real, but what's amazing is that we start showing up in this world much more at peace and understanding that we all souls with different paths, different strengths, different weaknesses, but all experimenting life as a human. And that's pretty rad, because it allows us to take so much more perspective, not be riled up with everything around us, everything that's happening to us, and just take a beat, taking a pause, a break. I don't know, like, to me, I feel so much more at peace like that. You have your reality, I have my reality, but yours is not better than mine, mine is not better than yours, and it's just different. And that's cool. That's really cool to have different opinions, different way to see things, but also not be blinded by thinking of one truth only. Live and let live. That's my motto. Anyway, so that's it for today. That was more of a chit chat video. Let me know if it was helpful, if you like chit chat videos like that, and share your own experience in the comment section about your own ego, how you go about it, what you think of it, and what you've learned in this video, or you haven't learned and you super not agreeing with what I said. Share it. Share it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video to keep on helping this channel befriend not the ego of this channel, but the YouTube algorithm, so this channel can keep on spreading the word about conscious living through holistic wellness. As always, stay true, keep showing up for yourself, and let your soul lead the way. Bye-bye.